Hello guys, and thank you so much for tuning into The Creatives. My name is Tevin Brown.
And I'm Simone Campbell. And today on this episode, we have Ron Weisberg, who is the owner and founder of StoryQuest Productions. He trains actors, vocal actors, gives actors opportunities to create films. And he currently has a new book that is released. And we're very excited to hear a little bit more about him. Thank you so much for being on today, Ron.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So you're originally from Texas. It's not too much of a skip over to New Mexico, but what brought you here?
Well, actually, my grandparents moved here a long time ago. And so my family had always came and vacationed in Santa Fe to see my grandparents. And my
Classic.
aunts and uncles moved out here following them, and a bunch of cousins. So I've always had a family connection here. And it's always felt like home, so I just, it's a really comfortable, natural place for me to be.
Yeah,
I love the mountains.
Gorgeous. They're in the east. I'm from Colorado. It's weird that they're not in the west, but I got used to it.
Completely different story. I'm from Florida, so the mountains were like brand new.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
So with StoryQuest Studios, how did you ultimately get started with that?
Well, I needed to have my own studio to train actors and to make movies for actors and to show people there's new ways of being creative instead of staying stagnant. Yeah.
Say it again for the people in the back. Absolutely.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. And how long have you been kind of doing the film industry, even prior to that?
Well, I got into acting when I was in high school, or a little right before high school, in summer camp. We did these plays in summer camp, and my grandmother was an actress. So growing up, I remember seeing her on stage, and the magic in her eyes, and in the magic in her discoveries, actually, that actually made the audience laugh in hilarity just by her reacting to something. And I guess it always stuck with me. I don't know. It makes sense, though. It's my grandmother. So, seeing her on stage and seeing everybody reacting to her, I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. It's fascinating.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're talking a little bit about, doing something a little bit more unconventional to kind of, feed that fire, that passion, that excitement that you see on the stage and off the stage in the audience. How does that come through in your work at StoryQuest? Yeah,
I think that spark of magic that I saw in my grandmother was like the spark of authenticity, that was only her and her expression. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that I was able to create a process for people to find their authentic expression through their own discoveries. So the way I teach acting is it departs from other modalities because other modalities focus on emotions and actions, psychological actions, okay? Emotions and actions actually come from your discoveries. So whatever you discover and whatever you realize the truth is, that's what moves you.
And it's so present.
It's right now.
Yep.
Whatever you're discovering right now. So you can't plan it all out the way that you would hope to maintain your comfort and be able to control everything. But no, as an actor, you have to feel comfortable in letting go of every piece of control there is, so that you discover what it means to be human in the moment. And then when we watch you, we get to see you alive instead of rehearsed.
I love that. I heard somewhere that, I think Austin Butler said it when he was rehearsing for Elvis, that you can't be self-aware and others aware at the same time.
Yeah. Your mind is on a one track. We're one track minded, right?
Yep.
So that's the cool thing. You use that. So whatever you're discovering right now on this track is true. So you go down this track and you stay on this track, and whatever you discover on this track is the story that we see. But if you're thinking about what other people are looking at and you're thinking about yourself acting, you're not on that track. You're on a different track. So that's kind of how I create focus in our work, is like, wait, what are you discovering right now and what are you deciding to do about it as the character in the story? Are you really listening? Because if you listen to discover something, Well, that's different than listening for your turn to speak, which is what most people do.
That's true. On and off the stage.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So then I realized it was life too. I was like, oh, discovering is acting, acting is discovering, and discovering is living, living is discovering. They're the same thing. That's what makes it realism.
Yeah.
When you force emotions and you force actions, that's not realism. That's not what we do unless you're a sociopath.
True.
So what I discovered is that the way that most people train actors, they teach them to be sociopathic, manipulating emotions,
Yeah, it's insincere.
playing actions on other people instead of discovering and listening and being affected by them. So, yeah, it's a lot more fun to not be a psycho. Play a psycho on TV, but you don't have to be a psycho in real life. You don't have to train yourself to be a psycho, right?
I try to avoid psychopathy where I can. But
They say that actors are liars, but that's completely false.
you don't have to be.
We're the truth tellers. We're telling you that we're in a story. We're telling you this is a story. We're telling you it's a story so that you can learn something from the story. How are we lying? Everyone else is lying because they're pretending they're not in a story.
I actually really love the way that you put things together, like especially like the idea of listening to discover rather than listening to when your next line is or different things. And I think that's absolutely beautiful and similar to kind of my upbringing with acting and stuff. And so you can just tell from just your entire energy, you just have this absolute wealth of knowledge, and I love it, which clearly is probably the reason why you wrote a book.
I wrote the book out of this need. I wasn't planning to write the book, which was interesting. It hit me that we were just talking about these things in a way that was detrimental to the actor. Because when a director comes and says, I need you to be more emotional, I need you to be angrier, what do you do? Just because they told you to be angry, because does that mean that you can do the anger that they told you to be?
Right.
And what is anger? Anger is a word. How many shades of anger are there?
There's so many.
Oh, so many.
Too many to
Just
count.
based off of the
And you feel them
context.
all towards the director or instructor when they give you
Channel that
these. Yeah, literally.
Think about your
don't
director.
you feel anger? Like, yes, at you for not taking the story and being sacred about the story by making these superficial remarks about the story and trying to layer emotion like mayonnaise over this bread. You're not taking care of the story.
Yeah.
And so I had a need to take care of the story, and I felt like this is actually taking care of people and the actors that I'm training. I'm like, y'all, don't drive yourself crazy trying to hit emotional marks like they tell you to. Don't do it. Rebel. Discover something powerful that makes them feel something, right? That can't be controlled, because your emotion can't be controlled, not your true emotion. Only through long times of periods of conditioning and training yourself to control your emotions can you learn to control your emotions, like military training.
Yeah.
Okay? But normal people aren't military trained.
Yep.
We are reactive. Okay? So this concept of making decisions is actually an illusion. Have you heard of this illusion of choice? The book, The Illusion of Choice, right? So our discoveries is really our choice. That's the choice we have. Our decisions after we discover things is not really a choice. How we discover and what we discover leads us to a choice. So this is how, as a writer, I would help writers too. So the discovery technique is for storytellers. It's for everybody to understand what a moment is. A moment is you're making a discovery and a decision to do something about that discovery. So that's kind of how I break it down to be a little more specific, but I get into the weeds in this.
Oh, please. No, exactly. Well, we got the machetes. We'll go right through it. So I'm curious then, through your line of work, sometimes it has to be incredibly frustrating, either, seeing somebody, a trained actor, if you will, trying to dismantle all of those like facades that they've built, and the structures that they've had. Like, what is your initial approach to break through their weeds?
My initial approach is to connect us to what it makes us human and what is a moment. And so when you discover the truth, when you're listening and you discover the truth, that's human. So I can tell if you're really listening and you're discovering something from what you're listening to. It's connected. Right? So if they're not feeling connected to something, I always just say, look at it. Put all your energy into discovering more details about what you're looking at and listening to and putting your senses towards. Because when you discover details about something or someone, it creates a connection to something or someone. And when something or someone discovers things about you in that process, the connection is shared. And the more details you discover about each other, the stronger the bond is. This is just a compound effect of discovery. So if you focus on discovery of outside of you, because it's really about shifting your focus. Because when something is fake, it's because the focus is on you. It's like you're focusing on yourself. But as soon as you shift your focus to discover something about something outside of you, that's when it becomes real, because you're truly discovering something real about whoever it is in front of you. Like I'm discovering I like your hoop earrings, right? I can't lie about that discovery because it's literally my opinion right now as I'm discovering it, and then when I speak it out loud, that is the truth. So whatever you're discovering right now is your truth. So the only time that we're lying to ourselves is where we're blocking what it is that we're discovering.
Yeah, taking ourselves out of the present compulsively.
Yeah, yeah, and being afraid of the present.
Yeah,
which brings us out of it. We're like, oh, that's dangerous. That's too personal. I better not do that.
Yeah.
Which, as we know, that's what makes acting so exciting is the vulnerability, the personal things. And so when people go into class and I tell them, oh, well, you have to discover something personal, and they immediately feel the fear of that they didn't realize was going to happen. Something as simple as looking at somebody and being personal is so frightening.
Yep.
Yeah.
Afraid to face someone else's soul.
Yeah, or just the unknown. We don't even know what we're afraid of. That's the absurd part. I tell everybody to read that book, Gift of Fear. Have you read that?
No.
Yeah, it's a great one. It talks about fear, like where fear came from, and like our how we evolved, and how we don't really need fear anymore. What is there to be afraid of?
We have 100% less saber-toothed tigers chasing us.
Yeah. And like if we're afraid of a drive-by, like that's valid, but it's not happening. So by being actively afraid of it, you're wasting energy. So you have to train yourself to use fear for your purposes, not to let fear use you.
And that energy stays in your body, and it has nowhere to go. Yep. Yeah. We wonder why we're anxious all the time.
Yeah, it's the fear of unknown and fear of chaos.
It is the fear of the unknown. So anxiety comes from not knowing how to understand what's really happening in this event. So it's about storytelling. I break everything down to storytelling because we're telling a story no matter what. Yeah. When you say something to me, you're telling me a story. When I'm saying something to you, you're telling a story. When we process something, it's a story, right? So it's just interesting how we're all just processing stories all the time, which is why I call it Story Quest Studios, because we're on this quest, to process and create, the most meaningful, impactful, useful stories, which is definitely not what they're doing in Hollywood.
No.
True. Which is another story.
This percentage of the time.
This is why they don't like me. No,
With StoryQuest, your classes, like what is typically like the age range that you teach? Do you just teach kind of all different classes, all age ranges, or do you have more specifics? Or
well, I used to teach all ages, and then it just became, it's more of an advanced training facility, and so it's really more for adults. Okay. I just had a parent come to me and be like, what you're saying is a little too sophisticated for my daughter. We're going to come back later when she gets a little older. I'm like, that makes total sense. I have no problem with that. You know what I mean? Because I'm not going to dumb this information down. I think kids naturally swim in a world of discovery. So that's actually how we
They got it. They're good.
100%. I don't have to do much, I just have to make them aware that it exists. And so now it's really, I focus on training adults that really want to take it seriously. And I have great instructors at the studio, amazing instructors. I have a voiceover program with Elizabeth Reeder Neubauer from Texas as well. I've known her for over 16 years. I took classes from her when I was in Austin. I went to school at UT in Austin, and she teaches the screenwriting class as well. She took classes from Joseph Campbell, who wrote The Hero's Journey. So, yeah. So she's like, she was there the last year he was a professor. So we have access to like amazing instructors and storytelling, potential.
Yeah.
And Rachel Michaela, she runs Improv New Mexico, and she's a fantastic improv instructor, so creative, so full of energy, definitely someone to work with. And I've got just a couple of great people, but those are the two main people that I'm working with right now.
Yeah. Sounds like you have such a great team, and you can see it in your eyes just how much love you have for them and appreciation for all they do for just the whole group together. And so with that, I know it seems like you do like a million things. I mean, with the teaching, the acting yourself, with StoryQuest, do you have any other big things kind of coming up with StoryQuest or with yourself individually?
Well, it's kind of cool because StoryQuest is also a training ground for myself because the concept of discovery is for all of us, including myself. And so what I say is that we're all in expansion all the time. No matter what, you're expanding. So there's no way to fail because every failure is an expansion. If you are able to accept that, right? Remind me the question again, because I got on a tangent.
Oh, just if you have anything major coming up as well.
Yeah, so I get to train myself to be a filmmaker too, because I'm making movies at the studio for the advanced acting class, right? So we just made a movie called Bad Weather Friends.
Okay. Okay. What is that about? If you can, I know obviously like...
I can. It's pretty radical.
Yes.
It's pretty revolutionary.
Bring it on.
You ready for this?
I'm ready for it.
I'm holding on. Okay. Go.
I got more and more ambitious as I went at StoryQuest with the projects that we're creating because I want everything to have more and more impact, and I want to have, the students to have really interesting experiences on camera. And this one is about. Have you ever heard of the Weathermen or the Weather Underground?
No.
It was a group in the 60s and 70s, and they got tired of the protests that were not making the news and not having an impact, and nothing was happening. Okay? So they started getting together and blowing stuff up. I was almost about to say something else. But they started blowing stuff up, okay? Not to hurt anybody, but to grab everybody's attention and be like, hey, this is bad.
Over here.
Yeah, we need to not go to war and kill innocent people. And if we've got to blow stuff up to like make us aware of that, then let's do that. And so in this movie, it's kind of like an homage to that group. And this group kidnaps the Lockheed Martin son. Do you know who Lockheed Martin is?
No.
Biggest weapons company in the world, aerospace.
Okay.
And then the bizarre thing is there was a congressional hearing about the UAPs. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
No.
You better wake up.
I'm waking up right now.
Yeah.
Tell us more. Keep
Congressional
going.
hearings about the UAPs. Remember?
Yes. That was like toward the end of last year, wasn't it?
Yeah, and they just had another one this year at the beginning or something like that.
I didn't know about the one.
And they said something about Lockheed Martin or one of these companies that was hiding or holding biological evidence. What does that mean? Alien bodies.
your next movie?
We already shot it. We shot it in last month, right?
Wow.
So after I heard that, I was like, oh, we're changing the script, right? Because it was about the secret weapons that they were holding off grid that they could sell without a trace. Mm-hmm. And then I was like, yeah, but that's just the beginning. Right? So so it's a TV pilot. So now in this TV show, we're following this group that's just discovered, like, whoa, and the son of Lockheed Martin joins them. He's like, actually, I needed an excuse to blow this thing wide open because it's bigger than anybody could have ever imagined. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of the show.
He's like, so
That sounds. No, that all sounds amazing. Is there anywhere that people can go and watch like a lot of StoryQuest Studios content and different things?
Right now, it's sort of like the content is in a Google Drive box. The actors are given executive producer credits on the movies because they are making it happen. And they are encouraged to submit them to film festivals. And some do, most don't. The ones that do, we get awards in the film festival because people aren't used to people that care that much about storytelling. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
true.
And it's really exciting when people take it upon themselves to put it out there at the film festival, and then they go to the film festival, and I get to see them like experience a film festival with them on the big screen.
The discovery.
And like, this is what you do if you want to be an actor. You create content, you go to festivals, you get on the big screen so that you can have conversations with agents and managers and directors, casting directors, producers. They're there at the festivals. Where else are you can't go knock at their house, I tell you that much.
That's
right
about
now.
as close as you can get.
Yeah, exactly.
So, final question. I think that your work is the heart and soul of the creative industry. It's authenticity. And I think that so many young performers, just breaking out in the industry or even just dreaming of it are, that's the one thing holding them back. So what is your advice? What free advice from StoryQuest Studios for breaking through those barriers?
The barrier is you're calling yourself an actor and then stopping there. Okay? You have to call yourself a creative, a creator. You have to create things. That's why what y'all are doing is so important. Because when you create things, you transform from an actor. An actor is someone that says, I have to wait to be picked. And so you'll wait forever, right?
Yeah.
Until you take the authorship to create your own path. That means writing. Finding. Just go to YouTube and start to asking it to train you how to be a screenwriter, how to make movies with your phone. This is ways we get into film festivals is just make movies.
Start.
Yeah, start.
Just do it.
Get with some people, start improvising, take class. I mean, Rachel's class is pay what you can. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She's like, we're making it so if you want to do it, it's right here. You can do it. So that's what it is fear. It starts with fear. Everything starts with fear.
Yep.
Any time that you tell yourself you can't do something, it's a story that you just made up out of fear of doing it. Because the story of I can't do something is just as easy as I can do something.
Mic drop.
Oh, well, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I have to start first and foremost with that. Absolutely. And thank you so much for sharing. And I feel like this is only just a fraction. It's kind of the stuff.
It
There's
is.
so much more.
There is. And I just have to say thank you to Agua Technologies. They're a company that I'm a co-founder of that's going to change a lot in the creative industries. I just wanted to say.
So we might see you back. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay.
I might
definitely have to
come
bring
We'll
back.
stay tuned.
It feels like there's so much more to talk about. Is there any final comments and anywhere that people can also find you on socials or the websites to kind of follow StoryQuest or even your own journey, or even find the Discovery Technique?
Sure. Yeah. I actually sell the Discovery Technique ebook right now on StoryQuestStudios.com is my website. I'm recording the audiobook right now, with Here Kitty Studios. Shout out to Tor and Kat at Here Kitty Studios. That's a sound production company here in town, and they're over at my studio as well. And yeah, you can follow me on Instagram. That's probably the coolest place because it's visual, you know, and you get to see all the flyers that we post about community events. So StoryQuest Studios on Instagram, and yeah.
Awesome.
Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you
so much.
Appreciate you for having me.
Appreciate you guys.
Well, guys, thank you so much for tuning in. Once again, my name is Tevin Brown.
And I'm Simone Campbell.
And if for all of my people on YouTube, as I always say every episode, please, please, please like, comment, subscribe. I know it's cheesy at this point with today's day and age, but it helps us grow. And it also helps us to get more and more people on to be able to share their different things so you can hear stuff about the Discovery Technique and StoryQuest Studios. And Eva, it was Agua Technology?
Agua Technology.
Agua Technology and many different things. And we can bring him back and we can bring even more people on. Thank you so much and please have a great night.
Thank you guys.